Thank you very much for joining the Axios What's Next Summit. For those of you joining us virtually, we'd love for you to be part of the conversation with those of us here in DC. Hashtag Axios, hashtag What's Next Summit. You could do it at Axios. Our next guest, Mary Barra, started at GM when she was 18. She was a co-op student at the Pontiac Motor Division, picked up a BS in electrical engineering, an MBA. She became a VP, an SVP, an EVP, and now she's the boss. She's the chairman and CEO, Mary Barra. Welcome to Axios and the What's Next Summit. Thank you so much for doing this, for coming to DC.
Good to see you.
So I had a lot of fun out front in the Cruise Origin.
Yes.
So I got inside, no steering wheel. We'd love for our guests to try it. Some of you did on the way in. We'd love for you to enjoy the Cruise Origin. But tell me how soon I'll see that around on the street.
Well, we're in validation right now, so we'll be, the vehicle will be ready to put on the streets early next year in January. So it's right around the corner and really is going to, I think, change the way ride sharing, the way people enjoy ride sharing.
And how comfortable is it?
You know, it's very comfortable. And I just recently, I was out last week and about a month before and taking rides without anyone in the front seat. And the ride, it's like riding with a very confident driver who pays attention to all of the laws. And it's really a pleasurable experience. I can't wait for everyone to experience it.
So Axios always starts with the news, and breaking news this morning at 7:30 a.m., GM announced a partnership with Honda to make electric vehicles more affordable. And Mary Barra, is this a way to bring electric vehicles to the mass market, or is that going a little far?
No, I absolutely think it is. It really is an important play to bring not only scale but speed to making EVs affordable for everyone. And if you look at where the market is for new cars, getting something that's under $30,000 makes it very affordable. So we're really excited. Honda's a great partner. We've done many things with them. So I think this is going to be a really important path yet in this decade. In 27, we'll have attainable EVs available.
Attainable EVs. Mm-hmm. And so is this Joanne Muller, who you know well, Axios transportation correspondent, we're chatting on the way in. She gave me this question. She said, is this a way for GM to separate itself from Tesla and EV startups?
I definitely think we have a very important goal that we are saying that by mid-decade, by 2025, we'll sell more EVs in the US than anyone else. And to do that, you need to have a portfolio of vehicles. Over 4 years ago, we invested in the Ultium platform, which gives us the ability to do a small vehicle like an Equinox or the vehicle that we just talked about doing with Honda, all the way up to a super truck like Hummer. So if you can have a portfolio, that's how you're going to really engage people in EVs. And so we do think that's going to lead to a leadership position. So I think it will be a distinguishing separation at that point in time.
So can EVs scale?
Absolutely. I mean, we're doing that today. The Hummer is rolling off Factory Zero. We have the Lyric that is coming from Tennessee, in Spring Hill, Tennessee. Shortly, we'll have the Chevy Silverado also being built at Factory Zero. So we definitely can scale, and we can do it quickly because we've invested in a platform called Ultium.
Now, environmental groups say GM's blowing smoke, that you have limited offerings and there's a long wait to get them.
Well, I think we have the Bolt EV and EUV that we've started producing again this week, and I'm really excited because that vehicle was doing well before we realized there was a rare but an issue with the battery from LG, and so we've dealt with that. So we'll have the Bolt EV, we'll have the Hummer, the Lyric, and then it just rolls that we've said we'll have over 20 EVs in the US by 2025, so they're coming.
Another thing you'll hear from skeptics is, okay, come talk to me when you can make a $25,000 EV and when there are charging stations in every neighborhood.
Well, again, we've already announced that next year we'll have the Chevrolet Equinox EV available, and that's going to be around $30,000 starting price, so we're getting close. The project we announced today with Honda will get below that, so I think check on number one, got that. And then from a charging infrastructure perspective, we are working, we think it's a multi-pronged solution. So we're working with a lot of startups who are doing charging infrastructure. We're investing $250 million ourselves. I think what just was passed with the infrastructure bill is going to provide charging as well. So I agree, you need charging along with EVs, but I think it's well on its way.
I was chatting before the event with our friend Sandy Schwartz, and he said that there's also an issue with the grid in some neighborhoods?
You know, I have been talking to a lot of power companies, and in some cases, you know, from a grid perspective, we have to look at it holistically. And so, you know, the weakest areas need to be addressed, but I think the power companies and energy companies are looking at doing that, and we're having conversations as well. And, you know, there's a lot you can do to when the EV charges. It doesn't have to be, you know, when you get home whenever you're done with your day. It can be scheduled, and so I think there's a lot of work we can do to make the grid work for EVs for everyone.
And the last question about EVs, how concerned are you about the battery supply chain and your ability to source parts from within the U.S.?
So we've been doing a lot of work on the battery supply chain across and looking at it to get as much as we can in North America. First, we're investing in 4 plants. We have one coming on this year, one next year, and one the following year, and we'll be announcing the 4th location yet this year. So we're bringing that manufacturing to this country, whether it's the rare earth material or all of the components that we need. We've done quite a bit of work of sourcing in this country or in North America. So we're securing this, the materials that we'll need to make sure we reach our goal of 2 million EVs on the road by 2025.
And what would you change about the Biden administration's approach to creating an American supply chain for EVs?
You know, we're working on doing that. I think there's things that the administration they're considering that will, I think, further support it. But we're very focused on bringing jobs to this country, creating good-paying jobs, and also having a more stable supply chain, which I think is important not only for EVs and to support what we need to do from a climate change perspective, but from a national security perspective as well.
So autonomous vehicles. When will we have vehicles for personal use that have extended look-away driving, that I can watch Netflix?
Well, so, you know, today we have Super Cruise, but it's a driver assistance technology. We've announced by 2023 we'll have Ultra Cruise, still a driver assistance technology. So we're going to be watching to make sure you don't look away for too long.
Right. You encourage us not to watch Netflix.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you still are, if it's driver assistance technology, you still are the person responsible. But we believe as early as mid-decade, we'll have personal autonomous vehicles available that will then, it crosses that line where the vehicle is now responsible for the operation. And again, I think that can happen by mid-decade because of our partnership with Cruise.
Yeah, I just want to draw a line under that. So the personal vehicles is the reason that's important. That's different from like a robo-taxi. You've said mid-decade in the past. Are we talking like 2024?
We've said as early as 2025.
And how affordable, available will those be?
Well, you know, as we first start to roll those out, that technology is expensive. We already have a lot of work going on at Cruise to get the cost of the technology down. So as the capability of the vehicle goes up, the cost will come down. But it will start as a relatively a higher priced vehicle until we get the technology down. And that's why we're also investing in Super Cruise and Ultra Cruise, because it dramatically makes the vehicle safer. And you know, our goal is to create a world with 0 crashes, 0 emissions, and 0 congestion. And all of these technologies are enabling us to do that.
So Axios had an interesting poll this morning with our partner Momentive, looking at how different age groups embrace autonomous technology. And young people love it. So in our poll, 7 of 10 young adults say they drive an electric car if they could afford it. What do you think is the appeal to youth? Does that comport with research that you do, that younger people a lot more eager to embrace it?
I think we've done extensive research, and I think people look at affordability and is there a robust charging infrastructure? Is the vehicle going to be in the segment that I want to drive? I'm not going to drive a sedan if I really want to drive a truck. So that's why that portfolio is so important. But I think the main thing is we need to get people into electric vehicles because they're fun to drive. It's instant torque. Whether I've been driving a Bolt and now I'm driving a Hummer, and they're just incredible. So I think as people experience the technology from an EV perspective, they'll be convinced.
And what do you think explains the youth appeal?
I think generally just an attraction to new technology. I don't think that's new across many different forms of technology. But again, I think experiencing the technology is the best way to convince people that they're going to get more and not give anything up. Whether it's electric vehicles or then autonomous. I mean, after I've had several rides and now have taken rides without anyone in the vehicle, in the driver's seat, experience it. I mean, 3-4 minutes in, I'm trusting the technology. I'm convinced, and I feel it's a smoother ride. It's a better experience.
We had a conversation in the Axios editorial meeting yesterday. Somebody threw out the premise that vehicles may become more dangerous before they become safe, and that is that with this partial automation, drivers may over-trust it. Do you worry about that, and how do you solve for that?
Well, the way we have solved for that is with Super Cruise and Ultra Cruise that we're making sure you pay attention. And if you don't, we warn you.
Yeah, so tell me what happens. Tell me what
So first you'll be warned. You'll get a beep. You'll get you'll have a sensor in the seat. And eventually, if you don't pay attention, the vehicle will stop operating. It'll safely stop operating.
GM also is a SaaS, software as a service company. Tell us about that.
Well, we believe if you think about the vehicle, it is a software platform. So as we look at what people are doing today and what we can do to improve the customer experience, we see a huge opportunity there. And we've invested in a technology where we can, do over-the-air updates. We call it our Vehicle Intelligent Platform. We started rolling that out in 2019. So as every new vehicle that comes out, primarily will have that capability. But then on top of that, by next year, we'll have think of it as an operating system called Ultify that enables us to, for instance, if we develop something 2 or 3 years from now, we'll be able to backcast it into your vehicle. So, what's exciting to me about this is your vehicle will get better over time. And so it's really exciting, the changes that are happening in our industry and how we're going to be able to better serve customers.
When you were named CEO 8 years ago, right? Starting as a co-op student and coming back as the boss, it was covered as a signal change for an industry. You'd been a top GM executive for a long time, but there are a lot of old boy elements of this industry that remained. What did you face that a young woman today wouldn't, or has it not changed that much?
I sit here today as the chair and CEO of General Motors because 25 years ago, people invested in my career. General Motors focused on diversity. Apparently, it was one of the best kept secrets from what people think about it. So I was given, I had great mentors and coaching. I was given stretch opportunities that prepared me for this role. So yes, things have changed since I was 18 years old, and maybe had a different reception when I went into one of our plants. But we're really proud as we just staffed up our CAMI plant in Canada that it will have more women working at the plant. So there's been tremendous strides made in representation across all levels. And I think it's an environment that we are really trying to create an environment where everybody can bring their true self to work to do their best work.
Something you talk a lot about is purpose.
Yes. I think every company, and it needs to understand why they exist. And so our purpose at General Motors is to pioneer the innovations that move and connect people to what matters. And as you and I talked, the what matters, and that was something that we hope for all of our employees guides their decision making every day and gives them that that outline and alignment of where we're going. And I will tell you that our employees have responded really positively to this. And I personally think when we look at attracting and hiring the best and the brightest, they want to work for a company that is doing something that matters, but also shares their values. And so, again, we're on that journey. We continue to work and improve, but I think it's a very important element of any company, of the culture, if you're going to attract the best and the brightest.
You told me a surprising story about a deep dive that you did into the old GM bylaws.
Yes. So as we were working on our purpose, we knew it's hard to pick the words, and you want it to be something that everyone can remember to help them, guide them every day. And we were kind of stuck. And so I actually talked to another CEO that I have tremendous respect for, and their purpose. And he said, look into your past. And so we actually got out the Articles of Incorporation of General Motors. And it was, so inspiring because they talked about pioneering. They talked about electric vehicles over 100 years ago. And that really was instrumental in us defining our purpose and finding that connection.
Part of the GM way is dress appropriately, work appropriately. What does that mean?
Well, dress appropriately I had the opportunity to work in human resources about, more than a decade ago. And, we had a multi-page dress code. And, the way I looked at it is it was something that no one looked at. And frankly, when you think about everybody at the company, they're doing something important. We should be able to trust that they're going to dress correctly for the job they're doing. And we have people who are meeting with government officials or meeting with customers or interfacing with dealers or assembling our vehicles. How can we possibly write a manual long enough to say, here's how you should dress? So dress appropriately really empowers everybody to figure that out. And I think it was really important for our culture because instead of somebody saying, that's just what the rules are, it empowered people to say, what should I do? And that then led to work appropriately as for those employees who had the opportunity to work remotely during the pandemic, and first of all, I have to say I'm grateful for so many employees who came to work every day, followed the safety protocols, because building cars, trucks, and crossovers is our business. But for those individuals, again, there's been so much debate about return to work, and our guiding principle was do your work where you can do your best work. And that's what work appropriately means. So it's not, I want to work at home, so I want to, if that's what I'm going to do, or this manager wants to see everyone. It's really, again, being thoughtful about where can I do my best work, which sometimes can be remote and sometimes will be in one of our facilities.
And for those people who were able to work from home during the pandemic, our reporting shows that people at GM adapted fast. And there was even some design that speeded up. I heard people working on parts of cars in their garage instead of a lab.
People were so creative. If ever anyone had told me that we could not only, maintain the business, but in some parts speed up our electric vehicle programs and continue on with the technology development, I think it just shows the agility, the resiliency, and the creativity of our team. So I couldn't be more proud.
And some of it did speed up?
Absolutely.
So, Mary, we always end our newsletters and our events with one fun thing. And you have an awesome story about your first car.
So my first vehicle was a Chevy Chevette, but the backstory was my dad, who worked for Pontiac Motors, where I started, and he retired my senior year in high school. And so we went to a Pontiac dealer at the time, and we put a deposit on a Firebird. And then we came home, and because my father was retiring, I had to make sure I knew how I was going to pay for school. So unfortunately, had to go get the deposit, bought the Chevy Chevette, but it was a great vehicle. It took me all through my schooling, and then actually my brother and I swapped vehicles, and it took him all the way through med school.
And you told me about the letters that you get from customers. Why do people name their cars?
Oh, yeah. This is an incredible business because for most people, a vehicle is either the most important or the second most important purchase they make. And so people relate to their vehicles. We've had Tom the Tahoe, we've had Malibu Barbie, and it's just so fun. I mean, I've had letters from people who say, my vehicle was with me through my cancer treatments, or was with us through 3 successful sons lacrosse tournaments. So I feel very special that we get to be a part of people's lives.
Okay, drop the mic. What was the Chevette named?
The Chevette didn't have a name. I'm sorry. It was my red Chevette, but it was cool.
That'll do it. It could even be a song. Mary Barra, thank you so much. Thank you for the conversation.